How's it going, guys? Do another review on a guitar that I currently own, but it's just sold, so it's actually being shipped out to its new owner. Right, this is pretty cool. So this is an Aristides 060r. Actually bought it secondhand. The funny thing is, I didn't realize I was buying it from K-Mac. So if you know of him, he's worth having a look on YouTube. You can actually see him playing this, which is kind of cool. Just if people aren't aware, he is this funny Scottish guy that was making these viral videos like the Beatles, Blackbird, but death metal. Funny guy, but his brother was selling it on his behalf. Very dead on guy as well, so private sale just over Facebook. So it's an Aristides 060r. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll have seen I've had a couple Aristides featured on the channel in cover videos and stuff like that. I did a review of a headless one as well. So yeah, they're guitars I'm particularly fond of. This is an 060r. So 060 relates to, it's a 6-string model, so I'd say this is probably one of their most popular configurations as well. So 060 and then R stands for the Raw series, so I'll get into that in a minute here and describe that. It's worth mentioning how Aristides are actually made, because it's quite different from regular guitars. So there's no wood on this at all. The fretboard might look like ebony, but it's not. So generally speaking, from my understanding, there's videos on YouTube talking about this, and it's pretty cool. I would recommend going and watching that. But from what I understand, they make it the outer shell first. So they have it sort of split in two, and they hand paint carbon fiber and glass fiber into a mold and let it set, and then they put those two sides together, and that's the outer shell for the whole guitar. I'm guessing they glue that together, then they injection mold their proprietary mix, which they call Arium. So from what I understand, it's mixes of resins and microscopic glass baubles, from what I picked up in the video, and then that goes in to some sort of industrial oven, a guitar oven, and gets baked and, you know, solidifies, I guess. So that's very common across the whole Aristides range. That's how all of their guitars are made. The difference with the Raw series, so they've always been known for their crazy paint jobs. They're like custom shop car resprays, like that sort of standard. Like, it's amazing. Some really cool ones. It's worth having a look at their Instagram. I'm sure you'll find movie based ones, game based ones, and then just very cool designs. So they take a lot of pride in that side of things, because there's no wood, you know, to have nice sort of patterns like maple and, you know, swamp ash and stuff like that there. It's kind of their way around that. They can make these really nice, insane paint jobs. Saying that, they did find a way to sort of replicate wood finishes, and that's what some people have done, where it nearly looks like book matched woods. It's really cool. So the Raw series was introduced in 2019, I think, and I'd already been a fan of their guitars before, but I'd never played one. But when they introduced the Raw series, that sort of spoke to me a little more, because they were a little cheaper, they were faster to build, and I suppose just a little more utilitarian in some ways. So they're made exactly the same way. They have the insane attention to detail that Aristides are known for. They just found a way to dye the outer shell while it was being molded. So you could pick from a range of preset colors, basically. That was the idea behind it. So it would skip a lengthy and costly painting process, but it would still get sanded down to perfection and go through all the same steps. So I think the difference, when I got my first one, it was 4 months to wait, which was amazing. Like, now it's double that now. So 4 months for a raw build, and then maybe it could be 9 months for a painted build, or more, depending on how complex the build is. So this is a black raw. So it wasn't one of the first colors to be introduced either. It was later down the line, but I've seen this build replicated a few times with subtle differences here and there. So I think this is probably one of the most popular specifications of it, just because it's quite stealthy. It's not too in your face or anything like that. Talk about the hardware first of all. These things are spec'd out of the heavens. So firstly, it's got a Hipshot hardtail bridge, very reliable, very popular on high-end instruments these days. It's also got the Hipshot lock-in tuners. I think they're called open gear grip locks. Extremely resilient and easy to use. It's sort of, I'd used lock-in tuners before, but I can understand why these are sort of industry standard these days. You pull the string tight, lock it down with the little screw thing in the back, tune it, and that's it. You just cut off the excess. There's no wrapping around the string posts or anything like that. It also has the Fishman Fluence Classics in this one, which is probably my favorite Fishman pickups that I've tried so far. I much prefer these over the moderns, even though I play mostly metal and stuff like that. For me, they have a bit more of a pleasing character to them. The moderns still have the cold brittleness of like an EMG 8160 or dual 81s, just not for me personally. It has the extra switch on the volume, you know, push pull, which gives it more of an active circuit. I suppose that it's worth going into that configuration. So a volume tone and a 5-way blade, and on the volume there's a coil tap, coil split, which activates the other voice. I believe the nut is Graphtec, fairly certain. Cut very well. Obviously, I bought this secondhand, and the nut is not something that's a problem at all. The frets are stainless steel, which is amazing. It's kind of became the new standard for a lot of high-end guitars, which is, it's good to see. They feel very nice to bend, vibrato. There's a brightness to them as well, which I can understand why some people maybe wouldn't like that, but personally, I like it. It nearly makes old strings sound a little fresher. It also has the glow-in-the-dark luminlay side dots. If you're a touring musician, touring guitar player, and dark stages, that would come in handy. I've noticed even in this wee room that I tend to work out of, these get charged up by whatever lights I have on in the room, and you can see it when you turn off the main lights. So it's a cool touch. It's really for professional musicians, not someone sitting in a wee box room playing guitar. I'm not sure if this is mother of pearl or epoxy, because they're known for using epoxy in their inlays. It looks like mother of pearl, so I'm gonna say it is. It's got that sort of you know, dancing characteristic when the light hits it, but it could be epoxy. Generally speaking, I have another couple of Aristides and they have black epoxy inlays, but mother of pearl would look very good on a black fretboard, so it could well be that. I think this is one of the more standard inlay options. You can have some crazy stuff going on the fretboard, which I would love to, but it's just they haven't found a way to keep the cost down in the custom side of that. So this is one of the more standard options. I really like clean fretboards, you know, nothing at all or very minor, and the 060 I think is just a classy sort of touch on it, really. While we're on the topic of the fretboard, it's worth mentioning that this is Richlite and not ebony, so it might look like wood, but it's not. So it's really clean looking. They describe it as having the sound of the bright sort of snappiness of maple and the tight bottom end of ebony, so it's kind of the best of both worlds in my opinion. They did used to use wood years ago, but I think the idea was to switch to a material that wouldn't react to temperature and humidity, because that's kind of the idea for the rest of the guitar. These things are built to be workhorses and to be very resilient. Often described as perfect for a touring musician because there's hardly any, you know, maintenance. You rarely need to do anything with a truss rod and things like that. I've had this a year and a half and I've never adjusted the truss rod. I've kept relatively the same strings and tuning. In Northern Ireland here, the temperatures tend to fluctuate quite a bit between the summer and the winter, so any of the sort of like Les Paul type guitars I have, I always have to adjust them. It's worth mentioning the parts in the guitar are very high end, obviously. The switch is a Schaller Super Switch. I think that's what it's called. It feels very, even very clicky, very responsive. The jack is an MEC recessed barrel jack. Kind kind of like, I think Ibanez have been known to use the exact ones, or you know, a similar idea, but again, very high end. I've had no issues with this. It also comes stock with shallower strap locks, and it kind of, which makes sense because in the gig bag it comes with an Aristides branded mono strap, which has obviously the locking end on the strap, so they kind of thought about everything in that department. It's worth mentioning the gig bag is class. It's done by Mono as well, like the strap, so their accessories are just Aristides branded Mono equipment. I'm not too sure what they call the gig bag. It might just be the Mono gig bag, but it's insane. It's very rigid. It nearly feels like a hard case without it being a hard case. It's quite strange actually. Although they've switched now, they actually use Quantum Industries, which it's a pretty funky looking bag, and the same idea, very rigid, very stable and protective, like a premium gig bag rather than a hard case. Oh yeah, another cool thing about the Raw series is, hopefully you can see that and the reflection isn't killing it here, but there's this big back plate on the back of these guitars, and on the Raw series they left them unpainted, supposed to fit in with the rest of the guitar's idea, but it's kind of like this brushed acrylic nearly, but it's a cool concept because you can see inside and see the wiring hopefully there, very clean, and the big sort of tone block here as well, big 060 sort of branding in there. And because this has the Fishman Fluence humbuckers, which are, you know, active, you can see the battery pack in there, and this is a micro USB? Yeah, it's a micro USB charger, so I'm guessing they haven't went to USB-C yet, or maybe this is just an older version of that, and maybe they are. So, and also you can see that sort of neck carve. There's zero resistance from this at all. It's basically like a neck free idea because it's all one piece. But yeah, it's a very cool guitar. Normally I would try and fit in some playing examples and things like that there. I did do a cover with this guitar recently, a Near Metallica song, but it's all distortion. I just wanted to do a quick review of this before it went. These guitars are becoming more known, which is great because they're a very small custom shop company, and honestly I think what they're doing is very unique to the point where there's another brand low-key copying them. There's a guitar company called Rough Guitars. I think it's RUFF, but they're based in Poland, I think. It's very similar. It's, you know, it's you can tell they've taken a lot of inspiration from this, and with what the guys in Aristides are doing. So I suppose it does happen. But yeah, this one has been rock solid. I use this for a lot of down picking practice and things like that there, and it's a rock solid guitar. It's just surplus the requirements basically, so it's going to go off to its new owner this week, but it's been so stable. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to do a quick review on this before it went off to its new owner. But these guitars are insane. It's worth, if you see one of them locally, or you know someone locally that has one, it's worth just seeing if you can meet up and have a go on it, because I've been fortunate enough to play or own quite a few higher end guitars in the last 10 years or whatever, and these are very different. So for example, my sort of main guitar is an older PRS Tremonti before they redesigned it and, you know, put bridges on it and thinned down the neck and stuff, and those are my sort of favorite guitars ever. This is obviously quite different. This thing is, you know, built for speed and ergonomics and things like that there, and there's just nothing really like it. A couple of things that's worth mentioning: the material that they use, because it's so different from anything else, it's so resonant. I think they had described it as wood only resonates on a certain plane, whereas the material that they are using, it's like a 4D sort of effect, the way it resonates. So for example, I have a mic on here obviously, so I'm not plugged in, so what you're hearing here is, you know, just the guitar acoustically. I'm not picking I'm not picking terribly hard either. That's me picking harder there. But yeah, so they're incredibly resonant. I'd heard someone describe it one way and that sort of stuck with me. These guitars versus others, it nearly feels like you hear the note more when you're playing, you know, even with distortion and stuff. It's hard to describe. It's like you really feel that core note, you hear it. It's quite strange. Another real benefit of their design is the fact that none of the materials react to temperature changes and humidity. So as I mentioned before, I've never had to adjust this, and there's one I've had for 4 years. I've never touched the truss rod on it. There's the other one I have also has a trem in it, and it's extremely stable for that reason. So what I could imagine it being really good for is, say you are a touring musician and you're practicing backstage with the guitar you intend to play your set with, and when you walk from, say, like a warm green room or a cold green room to a warm or cold stage, you know, different temperature, other guitars could very easily go flat or sharp. But these would just stay as intended, basically. So very resilient, stable instruments, and that's kind of what they're known for now, as well as sounding incredible. And they've also had incredible guitar players endorsing them. Aaron Marshall from Intervals, for example, played them for a long time. The guys in Proprietary were involved with them for a while as well. So there's crazy configurations. This is kind of one of their more standard options, an 060 straight scale, but they have multi-scale now, and they have a headless range. They have recently found out a way to put an Evertune in a multi-scale design, which is crazy. What else? They have a Telecaster shape. They have a 4, 5 and 6 string bass in the works, I think, at the moment. They have 7 strings, 8 strings. It's crazy. They have a massive range now. From when I first found them, they only had the 060 and the 060. When I found them, they just had the regular option with the fan fret option, and then they added a Telecaster shape. So but yeah, they're absolutely worth checking out. Incredible guitars, and yeah, the guys are phenomenal to deal with as well. So it's very hands-on. Like the builds that I've been speccing and putting together, I've always dealt with Pascal, who is the CEO. So it's very nearly family feeling in that way. Like, it's not this big corporation you're dealing with. And they're sort of, you know, offering you suggestions and any concerns about pickups and stuff, but they'll also, you know, entertain mad ideas and things like that. So if you go on their Instagram and have a look at some of the builds people have done, there's a lot of stuff there that isn't standard by any means. So it's definitely worth looking into. But yeah, I'm gonna get this packed up for its new owner. As I say, there's oh no, I've got a cover live now. It's Cyanide by Metallica I used this for. Didn't go out of tune during any of the practice. Didn't go out of tune for any of the practice sessions before that or during the cover, so speaks for itself. But yeah, as I say, I'll try and add some of those in. Normally I would do, you know, examples of clean distortion, things like that, but this fret and hand of mine is having a hard time at the moment. So but yeah, I'm hoping to do more videos like this, guys. I really enjoy talking about guitars, talking about specs, sharing opinions and things like that, and they're usually quicker to do than learning a cover, so that's a plus as well. But yeah, I'm gonna go get this packed up and ready for its new owner. But thank you for watching. See you later.